जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। आइए समझें जियोपॉलिटिक्स को एक भारतीय नजरिए से।
So India has a mindset where it hits, it punches below its weight. We have to punch not above our weight. We have to punch not below our weight. We have to increase our weight and punch the post.
ये हमारा सिद्धांत है, हम घर में घुस के मारेंगे।
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism.
नमस्कार, जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम। हमारे साथ हैं राजा मुनीब साहब फॉर द सेकंड टाइम दिस वीक, जो हमको बताएंगे भाई ये क्या हो रहा है, व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन बांग्लादेश। उनका भी थोड़ा सा नजरिया लेते हैं। एज अ मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट, जब हमने संडे रात को बात करी थी, हमने बोला था कि यार इसके बारे में बात करते हैं, दिस डैम थिंग इज एस्केलेटिंग एंड यहाँ पर कुछ गड़बड़ होने वाली है। सो ये चीज हमने बोला एंड द वेरी नेक्स्ट डे धड़ाप एंटायर थिंग, बोलते हैं ना, द यू नो व्हाट हिट द फैन। बट मेरे को वहां से स्टार्ट नहीं करना है, मेरे को स्टार्ट करना है। मैंने जो एक टाइटल दिया है, आफ्टर बांग्लादेश इज पाकिस्तान नेक्स्ट। ऑब्वियसली हम बांग्लादेश की बात करेंगे, बट एक चीज मैं देख रहा हूँ पाकिस्तानियों में काफी एक ऐसा है कि भाई हमने किया है ये, हमने किया है ये, हमने किया है ये। वेयर एज पाकिस्तानीज वुड बी ऑल्सो नोइंग हो क्या रहा है, क्योंकि जिस दिन तक ये चल रहा था उस दिन से एक दिन पहले तक ये रो रहे थे। इनके टेररिस्ट हैंडल्स जो हैं वो रो रहे थे, ठीक है, ये सारे रो रहे थे, आईएसआई वाले सारे रो रहे थे। तो आई डोंट बिलीव द फैक्टर दैट पाकिस्तानियों को इतनी अकल भी थी, क्योंकि ये इतनी वाट लगी हुई है। दे माइट हैव बीन यूज्ड और नॉट इज अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी, बट आई डोंट थिंक दे डिड दिस, एंड दैट इज वेरी वेरी एक्सट्रीमली क्लियर। ये है डीप स्टेट का गेम। इसके बारे में मैंने आपको एक छोटा सा वीडियो भी दिखाया था सुबह। सो लेट्स गेट राजा साहब एंड आस्क हिम व्हाट्स हैपनिंग। पाकिस्तान क्यों इतना खुश है भाई? नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर, थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी। वो इतने ही खुश हैं जब तालिबान ने टेक ओवर किया था अफगानिस्तान का, तो पाकिस्तानीज वर सेलिब्रेटिंग द सेम वे, राइट? मतलब इतने खुश हो रहे थे कि बस हम जो है जीत गए हैं, और दैट इज द सेम खुशी इनको हो रही है कि व्हाट बांग्लादेश में जो हो रहा है ये हमने किया। सो दे थिंक दैट इंडिया हैज लॉस्ट इट्स लेवरेज, और इंडियन सिंपैथेटिक जो गवर्नमेंट थी वहां वो गिर गई। तो पाकिस्तानियों के लिए उतना ही बहुत है कि इनको लगता है कि they see it from a very narrow perspective. They don't understand the larger geopolitical game, or the perspective is not bigger. They don't understand that. And India has been dealing with Khalida Zia also. India has been dealing with Sheikh Hasina also. India knows how to deal with Bangladesh, but Pakistanis, as usual, the Taliban celebration then turned into mourning for them. This is also going to be, in the end, they will be mourning what has happened in Bangladesh. Let the dust
हाँ,
settle there.
वैसे आपने ये देखा है वहां पर पीटीआई की प्रोटेस्ट तो शुरू हो चुके हैं, तो अगर
See,
प्रोटेस्ट
lot of
इक्वल्स टू
Lot of Pakistanis are also celebrating, saying that Pakistan is next. What has happened in Bangladesh now needs to happen in Pakistan. And we have already been saying this, that this is bound to happen in Pakistan. And कल जो स्वाबी में PTI का जलसा था, जहाँ पे the PTI leader told army कि इमरान खान मदंग आदमी है, तो माफी मांग लो तो माफ कर देगा. That was a very significant statement he made. So that tells you the tables are turning in Pakistan on Asim Munir. Or the Pakistanis within Pakistan are now thinking they can carry the same revolution, and they can overthrow the Pakistani establishment. So Pakistanis are basically celebrating their own demise and their own destruction. This is the only country which celebrates its own destruction every time. The Afghan Taliban came, they celebrated. Now they are celebrating that it is going to happen in Pakistan. So Pakistan is insignificant. They are useful idiots. That's what we call them. And they have been used as a useful idiots by the deep state in Bangladesh over the years. That is what has happened.
And it's not the funny thing, it's the funny thing with Pakistan. आज किसी ने एक फोटो डाली थी, कायदे आजम मोहम्मद अली जिना, लंबी चौड़ी सी एक वो जो उसका स्टैचू है, कहता है ये कब नीचे गिरेगा। मैं बोला ये पागल हो गई।
So वही है, काफी पाकिस्तानी जो है वेट कर रहे हैं. They're looking at a revolution within Pakistan. So Asim Munir should be very worried, no? The Pakistani establishment should be worried कि हो क्या रहा है. If Bangladesh is falling like that, when are they going to fall?
And
Because
pretty
Muslim
fast.
Brotherhood is getting strengthened in after Afghanistan. Now it is Bangladesh. Next is Pakistan. और तो कोई country है नहीं, यही है.
यही है।
तो I'm waiting for पाकिस्तान कि कब पाकिस्तान में ये आसिम मुनीर के पुतले जलाएंगे और कब ये जिन्ना की फोटो गिराएंगे, when they will destroy their own nation. Because if you destroy the founder of your own nation, your nation is over. The basis of what you created a nation is over. That tells you the mindset of these people.
लेट्स गेट इनटू बिफोर आई गेट इनटू जयशंकर जी ने जो आज पार्लियामेंट में बोला, व्हिच वाज वेरी सिग्निफिकेंट, उसके बारे में बात करेंगे, बट आई वांट टू गेट इनटू थोड़ा-सा ग्राउंड सिचुएशन। अब थोड़ा-सा डस्ट सेटल हो गया है। फनी थिंग इज़ उसको शेख हसीना इज़ स्टिल इन इंडिया और उसको यूके का वीज़ा डिनाई कर रहे हैं लोग कि साहब
यूके का डिनाई कर रहे हैं, यूएस ने वीजा जो है वो रिवोक
कैंसल
कर
कर
दिया
दिया
है।
है। हुँ।
हम्म।
तो दैट टेल्स यू कंप्लिसिटी प्लस बिफोर एनी अदर कंट्री आई डोंट थिंक कि भाई बांग्लादेशी सिटीजंस ने अपने आप अपनी गवर्नमेंट को एग्री किया होगा। ये तो यूएस की तरफ से तो ऑलरेडी स्टेटमेंट आ गया, भैया वी वेलकम द न्यू गवर्नमेंट।
Yeah, because the new government, if you look at the student leader जो है इनका प्रोटेस्ट का, उसने डिक्लेयर किया ना मोहम्मद यूनुस को कि he should be the interim prime minister. So that is the new government they are talking about. अच्छा, खालिदा जिया को भी they yesterday the army released her.
हाँ, वो तो
ठीक है.
बेचारी बहुत बीमार है।
So basically they are looking at how obviously she's at the end of her age.
हाँ,
She's not any younger. But it's basically, and वो तारिक मसूद जो बैठा हुआ है यूके में now, he will be contemplating कि वो वापस आएगा और he might have a chance there. But looking at what Bangladesh is going through, I don't think any clear-cut, strong alternative government is going to come. I think the army is going to stay in control because see, at the end of the day, the army also knows कि जो हुआ है बांग्लादेश में वो किसके कहने पर हुआ और क्यों हुआ, and what the larger plan is. One, two. After a very long time, the army is back in power in Bangladesh, and ये हमने पाकिस्तान में भी देखा है, right? They give you a safe exit, and then they जो मुशर्रफ ने किया या उससे पहले भी जो हुआ जिया ने किया, जिया ने तो भुट्टो को फांसी दे दी थी, right? But we have seen Musharraf doing what he did, and the Bangladeshi army will be thinking that they have a chance to be back into power completely. So we'll see a Shahbaz Sharif style arrangement, keeping a puppet CM, or ये Mohammad Yusuf is a perfect candidate. He's basically an American lackey.
यूनुस
Sorry, Mohammad Yunus. He's an American lackey, right?
हाँ,
तो
अरे नोबेल
complete,
प्राइज सब कुछ है उसके पास।
हाँ, Nobel Prize है, and Hillary Clinton Foundation की उसके पास funding थी last time भी. There are a lot of things with him. So he's going to be the new one. The interim government is going to be there. Let's see how they pair up with this, because now what is going to happen is, being a Nobel laureate is one thing. To run a country which is radicalized and to understand the mind psyche is something else. The left lobby might be thinking, of getting into this mess, but this is a mess they cannot be able to control. And the army would be knowing ki kya hoga. It's going to be the left and the Islamists now clashing for power.
आपने उस दिन ऑन संडे यू सेड समथिंग कि आपने बोला कि भाई ये लेफ्टिस्ट और इस्लामिस्ट हाथ में हाथ चलते हैं टिल द टाइम आपका गोल अचीव हो जाए। जैसे ही गोल अचीव होता है लेफ्टिस्ट इस्लामिस्ट को मारेगा और इस्लामिस्ट लेफ्टिस्ट को मारेगा।
लेफ्टिस्ट को मारेगा।
यहाँ पर क्या होने वाला है?
यहाँ पर the street power is with the Islamists. But the political banking is of the leftists, right? So there is a huge chance कि अगर ये लोग election करवाते हैं, जमात इस्लामी is something which will come into power with BNP. The Islamists will be ruling the roost in Bangladesh, and that I don't think is very good news for the Americans as well. That is what they would have done this for. See, the problem with America is they orchestrate all these regime falls and all that with a game plan. They have a game plan in mind. But at the end of the day, if you look at anywhere, look at Libya, what they did, right? It's a mess. They're not able to carry through their plans. The reason is that one, where they have carried this out, it is not going to be easy for them. You have India, you have China, both, right? And both is looking, and both are looking to extract their own piece of flesh and piece of revenge. So why should you make it easy for the Americans to do what they want to do? It is going to be extremely difficult for them.
I won't even mind coordinating with China.
We don't need to coordinate with China.
नहीं, अगर करना पड़े तो कर लो, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? नेशनल इंटरेस्ट में है ना। रेड लाइंस खींचो एक दूसरे की, भैया तू इसके आगे नहीं जाएगा, तू इसके आगे नहीं जाएगा, और करो जो कोऑर्डिनेट करना है। उसके बाद आपको अगर थर्ड बंदे को बाहर निकालना है तो निकालो पहले उसको, बाकी हम आपस में बाद में लड़ लेंगे। टिपिकल
थर्ड बंदा तो अभी अंदर, आई डोंट एक्सेप्ट कि थर्ड बंदा अंदर घुस गया है। उसने दरवाजा जरूर खोला है, बट अभी उसकी एंट्री होनी बकाया है। So जब तक वो entry नहीं होगी तब तक you don't know. They have opened the door, but then door is going to be extremely messy. The mess and the stink which will come out of that door, let's see if they are able to handle that thing. It's going to be
यहाँ
very
पर
difficult.
एक चीज मैं आपसे पूछता हूँ, वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट नैरेटिव्स, एंड बाय द वे फनी थिंग इज, जितने भी न्यूज चैनल्स आप देखो, आई थिंक यूट्यूब इज द ओनली प्लेस जहाँ पर लोग बोल रहे हैं भाई चाइना नहीं है ये अमेरिका है, चाइना नहीं है ये
Absolutely.
अमेरिका है। ठीक है,
It doesn't make sense for China to do this.
इसी मौके पे मैं वो अपना वीडियो दिखा दूं, अगर आप परमिशन दो मेरे को।
Sir, बिल्कुल. I think you should play that video over and over again.
40 सेकंड का वीडियो है गाइस, ये जरा आप देखो, उसके बाद आपको पता चल जाएगा ये किसका है। एंड लोग पूछेंगे कि साहब ये सबसे पहले मैं बताऊं, अच्छा चलो लेट्स वॉच दिस, उसके बाद देखते हैं। ठीक है, ये एक जहाज है जो ढाका के पास एक छोटा सा एयरपोर्ट है, वहां पर घूमी जा रहा है, घूमी जा रहा है, घूमी जा रहा है, घूमी जा रहा है, घूमी जा रहा है। ये देखो कहां से टेक ऑफ हुआ है जहाज। ठीक है, लुक एट द दिस थिंग, एंड आई डिड एन अपडेट अबाउट दिस। सुबह मैंने इसको डाला था, जिन्होंने नहीं देखा यू कैन वॉच दिस, वेयर इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम। ठीक है, ये एक नया ड्रोन है विच इज लिटरली बीन लॉन्च्ड इन 2024 में। ठीक है, और लोग बोलेंगे कि साहब ये तो यार भारत के ऊपर से उड़ के गया। ठीक है, तो कहीं ना कहीं आपने क्या परमिशन दी है इनको जाने को?
Sir,
ड्रोन नहीं
देखो,
उड़ाना है, जाओ जाओ, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
see what has happened in Bangladesh. The signs were already there.
Yeah.
If you remember G20 meeting ke dauran, we tried that something happens between Bangladesh and US, between Hasina and the US government. We tried that in Delhi. I don't think it worked, right? And look, if you know that they have made a mess, which you tell them, okay, come and you're more than welcome to witness your mess. So you want to draw whatever communication you draw, because at the end of the day, you are sitting thousands of miles apart from the money which you have and the Islamist control you have. But what you perceive the left Sino Wahhabi, जिसको Sino नहीं मैं इसको कहूँगा, the left Islamic जो इनका ये है, US Muslim Brotherhood का जो network है. If they think that everything can be controlled to them, good luck to them, because it's not going to be that easy for them. And see, I'll tell you something very honestly. Everybody is saying, कि ये वो देखो इंडिया को पता ही नहीं था. Everything is not in public domain. The Indian government would, I read a tweet from somebody, I don't remember who said it's an Indian intelligence failure. I was like, why do you expect the Indian intelligence to put everything in public domain and discuss this in public domain? The Indian intelligence knew this long time it is coming. We have been predicting trouble in Bangladesh for a very, very long time now. We knew, because there is no pressure wall, one thing, and the whole thing is going to blow up. पता ही था ये होना, और after last elections, this was becoming very evident कि ये होगा. Something is going to give away in Bangladesh, right? So then what do? You cut your losses and you prepare for the larger game. So good luck to them. We'll play our game, you play your game. That's how geopolitical games are played. So I don't know why everybody is so. Yeah,
अफगानिस्तान में
that's
क्या
what
हुआ
happened
था?
in Afghanistan. हमने जी $3 billion लगा दिए, डैम्स में लगा दिए, हमको क्या मिला? कुछ नहीं मिला. आप क्या करेंगे? And Pakistanis were, celebrating and dancing and whatnot. 3 years down the line, let's look at the reality. Bangladesh also knows how dependent it is on India. It's not going to be easy. उनका border उनसे नहीं मिलता ना, उनका border हमसे मिलता है. Right? So they also know the reality is very different from what people perceive from it to be.
एक थ्योरी कल नजरियाना ने डाली है, it's far fetched, you can't prove it, but makes a lot of sense. कि भाई आपको पता है इसको जाना है, तो you then orchestrate her downfall. ठीक है, आपको पता है कभी ना कभी ये होगा, आपने एक प्लान बना के रखा है, जब भी होगा push that button and the plan comes into action.
Absolutely. Contingency plans are always drawn in these things. You always have a contingency plan.
दूसरा सबसे बड़ा जो इसका हिंट है, इसका जहाज ऑलरेडी अगरतला में था. Her aircraft was there present in Agartala. ये चॉपर से उड़ के अगरतला गई है, अगरतला में शी ट्रांसफर्ड इनटू द एयरक्राफ्ट एंड दे टुक ऑफ फ्रॉम देयर। ऑब्वियसली नोबडी, ये कोई खुले में कोई बोलेगा नहीं, बट देयर वर पुलिस रिपोर्ट्स कि ये लैंड करी है अभी वहाँ पर। फुल वीआईपी
हम्म
मूवमेंट चल रहा था वहाँ पर उस टाइम पे अगरतला एयरपोर्ट पे।
हम्म
ठीक है, और इसके काफ़ी काफ़ी मीडिया में भी रिपोर्टिंग हुई है इसकी। सो इफ
ट्रू
दिस वाज एंटायरली प्लान्ड देन यू न्यू कहाँ से आ रही है, कैसे आ रही है, ऊपर से आपने अगेन नॉट इन पब्लिक डोमेन बट Rafaels have escorted her out.
That is what I'm saying. Your contingency plans are always there in geopolitics. Even with the best of your friends, you always have a contingency plan that if things don't go the way, because you basically this is all wargaming, no, for the future. So you always wargame different scenarios of what can happen and what cannot happen. Everybody does that except the Pakistanis. They have absolutely no idea what wargaming is. They don't know what it is. They have never carried it out. Okay, so they are the ones who do wargaming like snakes and ladders. के वो cheating नहीं करते, वो सीढ़ी आगे तो चढ़ गए, सांप आ गया तो टपका दिया, वो वैसे खेलते हैं, उनकी wargaming वैसे होती है. But everybody wargames this thing. You always look at the scenarios, different scenarios emerging, and what is the best you salvage and how do you go forward. So I think that I don't think we have utterly something to be very worried about in terms of what is happening, because हमारा geopolitical heft भी बहुत है बांग्लादेश में, and then we have our own checks and measures to play the same game. But yes, national security is an important thing. We have been talking about this for a very long time. यहीं पर हापुड़ में ही बात करते हैं कि how important it is for us to look at from different perspectives of what is happening. So if we are talking, obviously people sitting at the helm of the affairs already know that what is happening. So yes, we have a threat. We have a threat from our borders, but it's an emanating threat. It is not an immediate threat. ये नहीं है कि वो वहाँ आ गए तो उन्होंने यहाँ घुस जाना और कल हमारे साथ पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा. Nothing of that
Militarily
is
तो
going to
यार,
happen.
militarily
Nothing
तो
is happening. No.
they're a joke.
Yeah.
Militarily तो यार कुछ भी नहीं है. I mean they're
Yeah.
just a total
The
army of.
only concern, the only immediate concern of ours is the minorities which are in Bangladesh and which are being treated the way are being treated. And I think that is something which we really need to address very strongly right now and make sure that nothing happens to them. And even if we have to evacuate them, we should look at a plan of how to get them to this side of the border, give them a safe passage, create a dialogue and give them a safe
Already आ
passage.
रहे हैं. Already आ रहे हैं.
But I don't think the Bangladeshis would want that to happen. Right? They are not going to fall in that trap, because the moment you send those people here, then get ready to take your garbage back.
Yep.
Which is in millions here.
That is the
So
biggest
it's not going to be
opportunity.
that easy.
तो मैं तो बोलता हूँ आपदा में अवसर ढूंढो. आपके पास प्रॉब्लम है, यू नीड टू फाइंड एन अपॉर्चुनिटी इन इट. सबसे बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है केओस में बंदे अंदर घुसाने शुरू कर दो.
हाँ नहीं, इनके बंदे हैं हमारे पास. There are so many illegal Bangladeshi migrants sitting in India, right? So everything is going to be it's a give and take in geopolitics. So I think we have to ensure that no more losses happen with the minorities. They are treated with respect, and those who want to come to India, they should be given a safe passage to come to India.
Absolutely
There should be no
agreed.
compromise onto that. That is where our priority is. Apart from that, I am not overly worried about what the Americans are doing there. We knew Americans are doing there for a very long time. Northeast में भी तो हमने देखा है. We know the American game plan. So we are not
Let's
sitting
go on to
हाथ पे हाथ
China.
पे.
Let's go on China. उसके बाद हम बात करते हैं जयशंकर जी ने जो बोला, because that to me is very significant. That tells you quite a bit of things. And 24 hours के अंदर अगर कोई स्टेटमेंट देता है, that means you're completely in control of the situation. आपको पता है क्या हो रहा है वहां पर.
क्या
You're
हो
not
रहा है?
short-handed.
हाँ.
तो चाइना का देखिए, काफी लोग बोलते हैं चाइना ने किया, ये किया, वो किया. मैं बोलता हूँ, जैसे हमने दोपहर शाम को बात करी थी कि चाइना कुछ लेवरेज करेगा उसके अंदर से. चाइना मे टेक एडवांटेज ऑफ इट, बट व्हाई वुड चाइना लाइट अप अ फायर राइट नेक्स्ट टू हिज बैक साइड यार.
No,
एक
but
उसके
why would
इंडिया में आग लगी हुई है, वहां पर लद्दाख में वैसी आग लगी हुई है. इस टाइम पे द चाइनीज आर क्लाइंग मैसिव एक्सरसाइजेस हैपनिंग, वहां पर रो रहे हैं वो ऑलरेडी. यू लाइट अप अनदर फायर हियर.
no, but why would Chinese do that? That is the question. What do they gain out of this? Do they have a substantial gain? Is what I would like to discuss.
क्योंकि
What is China not doing? No. What is China
वेंडेड
not?
asking for $5 billion यार.
$5 billion. And what is China not doing or not getting in our neighborhood, which they would have orchestrated this and thought about accelerating this, right? Because the ISI, the Jamaat-e-Islami from Pakistan is involved in Bangladesh, so everybody is assuming that Chinese have a huge hand to play. But we know that how the Jamaat-e-Islami and the Americans are hand in glove in many things, right? And why would China do that? On the contrary, it suits Americans. It actually suits Americans. It doesn't suit the Chinese. Because now China will also be thinking ki they have come and created a mess in my backyard which I need to take care of, right? China is not completely insular to the problems which are going to happen into Bangladesh. And Chinese military, and they have tasted with Pakistan what has happened in Pakistan, the way they got done in Pakistan. Would China want to create another Pakistan for themselves in Bangladesh and then get trapped into that? There is no Afghanistan this time next to Bangladesh, which will, help them with a
Buffering.
contingency plan. There is no
Hmm.
buffering, no. So the Chinese know, but the signs of the whole world knows it's America. But then people who don't want Americans to be blamed will put the blame on the Chinese. But this is the American game. The Americans have always done that. And look at the audacity of the Americans. They called it peaceful protests. So if China has done this, why didn't Americans make a lot of noise? Then it should have been the
Exactly.
other way around. It wasn't. So, this theory of the Chinese would have done it. On the contrary, now I think both China and India will make it very difficult for the Americans to carry out their little plan which they have in this area. The white man plan is not going to work for them.
Yeah, I don't think so. इनकी
Yeah,
थोड़ी
it's
बैंड
going
बजने
to be
वाली
very
है
difficult.
यहाँ पर भी।
Yeah.
Let's come to Jaishankar ji. He said some things in the parliament yesterday, and उनका अगर आप स्पीच पढ़ें, point number 2 is like एक ही उसमें डायलॉग में he put out everything they had to be said. So I'm going to ask you 3 points. उसके ऊपर अपना आप जरा थोड़ा सा नजरिया दीजिए। सबसे पहले he said that we asked all sides, to kind of talk and sort it out. ये जो वायलेंस
Mhm.
चैलेंज चल रही है ये ठीक नहीं है। तो what does that tell you about the involvement and the game that you were trying to play?
That
You
tells
let
you
it
that
happen.
you let it happen. You knew things were going wrong. You were talking with Sheikh Hasina. You were talking with BNP, and you were talking with Jamaat-e-Islami. You were telling them to find you know, some sort of an agreement where this can be stopped or some agreement can be reached. But then again, since they knew that they had sensed that they can win this one, they didn't do it. But that also tells you, see, this is what I said. No, we have experience of dealing with Bangladeshi since 1971. We are not dealing with Bangladesh from last 15 years. We have been dealing with them since 1971.
3
So
को
we
हो
know
चुके हैं।
the हाँ तो 3 को हो चुके हैं बांग्लादेश में, पहला नहीं है, and we are used to all these things in Bangladesh. So we would have tried to find a peaceful solution to it, but if it didn't work, it didn't work. But that doesn't mean that the Jamaat-e-Islami or the BNP were not part of the program
ना
or they were not on the table.
इसके अंदर एक फ्लिप साइड भी है ना। उन्होंने बोला वी आर टॉकिंग टू ऑल द साइड्स। व्हिच
Hmm.
साइड? ही डिडंट मेंशन दैट।
He doesn't need to mention that. He's not going to tell you, no.
तो ये तो
He's
फूटे
right.
फूटे मजा आएगा अभी तो अंदर से।
हाँ तो
किसने किससे बात करी है भाई? जमात बोलेगा बीएनपी से, ओए बेवकूफ तूने बात करी है? मैं नहीं करी।
हाँ
तूने बात करी है? मैं भी नहीं करी। फिर किसने बात करी है?
obviously you don't have to give
बिकॉज़
names कि हमने किससे बात की है.
बिकॉज़
Why do you
इफ
need to tell
अगर
किसने बात की?
अगर आपका नाम इज ओनली क्रिएटिंग एंगर अमंगस्ट पीपल, देन यू शुड एसोसिएट विद पीपल दैट यू वांट टू ब्रिंग डाउन।
Yeah, Naam is creating anger. Why is Naam creating anger? The point is that
हाँ,
this is just a vent created by these social media Pakistani influencers, that this is a victory and India has lost, because they see it as a retribution to 1971 what happened to them. They foolishly think that this is gonna happen. They are become another Pakistan. True, they have a problem. We know that Bangladesh has a huge radicalization problem. Not denying that at all. But this is not the first coup which has happened. और पहली बार तो हुआ नहीं है. We have seen this happening in Bangladesh. Bangladesh politically has been unstable like this, or this is a history of Bangladesh. But the Indians have always been there, right? So I really don't know that their celebrations are to what. I really don't know. And the persecution we are seeing this time is openly. But if you
या
look at the persecution of minorities happening in Bangladesh, It has been happening for a very long time. Even last time there was riots and the minorities were persecuted. Hasina sort of covered it up, and that is where I said, I pointed out that once you do this and you let the Islamists do this, they will get you. You cannot play their game and try to become them, or try to say that no, I'm the good one and they are the bad ones. It doesn't work that way. The good Taliban, bad Taliban doesn't work. So it
बट
doesn't work that way.
इसमें she also played, इसने भी she's also pandered to the Islamists, ऐसी बात नहीं है,
She
इसने
held
काफी
them off. She had to. They're at the end of the day, where is the politician getting her vote and power from? From the very people, right? So if people are on that side and the people mindset is on that side, but there is only a limit to what she can, tolerate or she can let go. Then she also has to accept the realities. The reality of the nation is such. Look, I believe what she did in the middle of these protests by banning Jamaat-e-Islami, had she done that when she came in power 15 years back, Bangladesh would have been a very different country today. Right? Because that time she really had a chance to do that. But that just compounded the problems the moment she went ahead, because one, they were the ones who were the troublemakers, right? And then when you ban them, obviously the anger is going to multiply, and they will then they will play the street power to their complete strength. They will double down on you, and that is why we saw that doubling down happening in Bangladesh. Otherwise, there was a bit of a lull in the violence, and suddenly it escalated because she went and she banned them. हाँ, तो 5 दिन में वो हुआ. So that is a mistake.
बुलाया, उसके बाद बैन कर दिया.
हाँ, तो वो उन्होंने I think that is a tactical mistake she made. She should not have done that. But I think that was her last stand against them, I suppose.
Yeah, she knows.
But that was
उसको पता था यार, उसका time up है.
हाँ, मतलब I would say that it was her last stand against them, but then that stand didn't work. She fell. But honestly, if she would have done this 15 years ago, Bangladesh would have been a very different nation. Unfortunately, they didn't do it. Yeah.
दूसरा जो जिस तरह से Mr. Jaishankar, I saw his speech also. जिस तरह से the tone that he mentioned minorities and what is happening to the Hindus there, जिस tone में उन्होंने बोला कि we are watching it and we are not happy. Countries इसके आगे नहीं बोलती हैं. They don't say, diplomats and all that stuff. ये बड़े कम words वाले लोग होते हैं.
It's a clear warning. It's a clear warning, and that is why the Jamaat chief today came out after that speech and he said, "Nee, once things normal down, nobody is going to touch anybody." Right? But once things normal out, what does that mean? That means that you go, you're on a killing spree, and then once you are done with your bloodless, then we'll calm down. So that is essentially what he was trying to say. But look, it's a clear warning, because at the end of the day, if you are going to do that, then you have to deal with the numbers we have here. And then what do you do?
अब यार वही है ना, यहाँ पर अब देखो, I honestly, I'm saying this with a lot of responsibility. I am not trying to pitch any violence with anywhere. But what if some guy starts up here?
No, not even violence. Forget about violence. You don't have to talk about violence. I am talking about you send about 500,000 Bengalis back. You already have instability in your country. How are you going to fix them? What are you going to do with it? The economic cost you will pay for it. Then what happens? You seal the borders tomorrow.
Oh, what like that?
You stop coming, let them coming in and taking vegetables from you. You blockade them navally. You don't have to do violence. There are so many other ways, non-violent ways, where you can bring them to your knees. So then what does Bangladesh do? Do they think that Uncle Sam is going to come from US and send them ships full load of food? They are mistaken.
Well, yeah, I mean, see, this is a bad situation. ऐसी बात नहीं है. It's not a favorable situation to have.
It's a bad situation. It's a very bad situation.
The point is, we need to find how to kind of twist this to a good situation or a controllable situation.
We have to find it where our interests are safe. And by our interest, our number one interest is the minorities in Bangladesh. We just have to make sure that they are secure, right? And then the larger things, what will happen, we'll deal with them. Even the Bangladeshi government, whichever government comes, they know they have to deal with India. अब आप इसको ले लो ना, Maldives को ले लो. कितने महीने बाद आ गया मुइज़ू के लिए टूरिज्म दे दो उनको?
4 महीने
कहाँ से उन्होंने शुरू किया था? कितना टाइम निकला उनको? begging. Literally, they're begging. They're onto their knees again now, right? So, okay, fine. So I don't see it very different from what has happened in Maldives. Sri Lanka was a different thing. I don't know why people equate it with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka actually was a good thing for us. I believe it was not a bad thing for us
हाँ, you could
because Sri
actually
Lanka,
step in. आपने काफी वहां पर पब्लिक नैरेटिव चेंज करा है.
हाँ, क्योंकि Sri Lanka went down because of the Chinese loans. So the Chinese people were very angry with the Chinese, and Sri Lanka was in our advantage. They went bankrupt. They went bankrupt because of the Chinese, not because of the Indians. And it was a course correction for them to come back towards India. But same with Maldives. We saw what happened in Maldives. We're seeing what is happening in Bangladesh. The situation is not very different between the two, and I don't see that it is a game lost for us. I think that there is a lot to extract from Bangladesh.
बिकॉज एक चीज तो ऑलरेडी इनका ठप हो गया है बिकॉज ऑफ दीज प्रोटेस्ट फॉर द पास्ट 10, 15, 20 डेज. ये तो काफी टाइम से अनरेस्ट चल रहा है इनका, स्पेशली आफ्टर द इलेक्शंस देयर बीन काफी सारा अनरेस्ट है. Do you know there's one state in India which has actually taken a huge advantage of this textile uh, game, and that state is Bihar.
Hmm.
वहां पर इन लोगों ने काम स्टार्ट किया है, and they've taken a huge advantage from Bangladesh.
This is what I'm saying. No, we have a lot of pressure points which can be pushed for Bangladesh to behave and not be too naughty, right? But yeah, so they are naughty. We know how to make them behave. We need to know how to make them sit ups.
For me, the
But
problem
we
is
have to
not
be very
any.
careful. We have to be very, very careful now in terms of national security coming next 6 years. Things are not going
जी,
to be that easy. They're going to be extremely challenging because what is going to come from that region?
जी.
Because now the Myanmar problem is going to compound with this problem. They are going to see an opportunity. See, chaos is an opportunity for any extremist terror organization. No, the more chaotic it is, the more spread they have. So
True.
Bangladesh chaos is not good. The
It is.
chaos
It
has
is
to
not.
settle.
It is not. It is not. It is not.
And
But
I think
it's not that. It's not that it's going to destabilize our entire northeast and all that. So that
no,
that
no,
won't
no, no,
happen.
no.
Please
Not to that extent,
understand.
but yes, you have to
वो
be
नहीं होगा.
extremely careful with a lot of
Yeah,
things. Yeah,
you
we
need
have
to
to be
be
extremely
careful
careful.
because capability for chaos है. But
हाँ,
ये
capability
नहीं है
for chaos.
कि या कई लोग बोल रहे हैं ओ मिलिट्री अटैक हो सकता है. अभी फोर्थ फ्रंट नहीं है यार ये.
नहीं, military attack कहाँ से होगा? मतलब who's going to, which military is going to come and attack you?
बांग्लादेश तो
Whose
चांस ही
military is
नहीं है.
going to come?
They'll get
The
shot out of the
Bangladeshi
sky the
military.
first day.
I think people read too much into these situations. They
Yeah,
assume too
yeah,
much. How
yeah.
is what makes you think Bangladeshi military will come and attack you? I mean, these are far-fetched ideas, good to have fun with, but on reality, nothing of that sort. It is an
So,
emerging threat. It will be dealt with.
by the way, you know how this was funded?
Of course, we know how the cabal funds it.
No, they've stopped giving aid shade now. USAID का नाम जाता है सिर्फ. ठीक
हाँ,
है.
वही मैं कह रहा हूँ. We know how the
USAID
cabal.
जाता है लोगों के ब्राइब देने के लिए. जो ये प्रोटेस्ट का पैसा होता है, it all comes to Binance.
Hmm.
ठीक है. So there are 4 accounts that have been identified, by the way, where a lot of crypto came in, and they had to do it. Why? Because they knew ये साला भी ये downfall आने वाला है. Crypto is down by 33%.
Because the crypto crashed. Yesterday, crypto crashed.
Crashed. And तो ये थोड़ा ये टाइम स्केल थोड़ा गड़बड़ हो रहा था. Lastly, this is a serious question because this is where I find the threat. The threat is not Bangladesh. The threat is not the government. The threat is not China. The threat is not USA. The threat is the radical element which is there. ये जो जमात वाले बैठे हैं बांग्लादेश के अंदर, they carry the capability of uh, you know creating terrorist type actions. वो हो सकता है. I'm saying that's the like the worst case scenario sort of a thing.
Hmm.
That to me is the biggest threat.
It
And
is.
that threat is there. Hasina, no Hasina,
It was always there.
ममीना, बिबीना, चिबीना, जो भी बैठी हो फर्क नहीं
It
पड़ता
doesn't
उसके बाद.
matter. Irrespective of them, this threat has always been there.
How would you kind of one observe this, study this to see कि भाई ये कितना कैपेबिलिटी है इनके अंदर, बिकॉज सप्लाई रूट्स तो है नहीं इनके पास इतने,
देखो
राइट?
अभी तो
सप्लाई
इनके
रूट,
पास उतनी उतनी कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है. They are not like the Pakistani terror groups, how Pakistani terror groups operate, right?
जी.
But what you have to be careful is their infiltration within India
हम्म.
and their lone wolf attacks, which can be very dangerous. This is why, uh, I've been talking about the Rohingyas in India, settled in India. We're talking about illegal Bangladeshis, which are settled in Bengal, because at the end of the day, they're playing this number game.
Yeah.
And this number game is dangerous. One, because they can create strength within a state, enough strength to trigger riots. Let's say Bengal, for example. They have the numerical strength to trigger riots in Bengal. We have seen a lot of violence in Bengal. Mamata has let that happen, right?
She's also got a warning मेरे ख्याल से.
No, now she would be shaken. उसको अब समझ आया होगा कि क्या होगा उसके. This is what happens next, no?
उसके साथ क्या होगा?
हाँ, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ. She would have understood कि अगर this goes to that point where state goes on to violence, Mamata loses power. She's over, finished. Tata bye bye, thank you. Mamata is gone, right? So that is threat number one. Second threat, which is the larger threat, is the plan they have, which they call this Ghazwa-e-Hind plan.
Mm.
Now, a lot of people talk about Ghazwa-e-Hind from Afghanistan and from Pakistan. But Ghazwa-e-Hind, if you look at the ground of Ghazwa-e-Hind and how they eventually want to carry out, is through Bangladesh and pushing these numbers through, one through Rohingyas and second through the Bangladeshi immigrants. That is where the majority of the threat comes from. So AQIS operationally, if you look at AQIS, they have always been focused with JMB within Bangladesh. That is a threat. That is why I say that national security wise, we have to be very, very careful.
Mm.
And we have to be very, very careful of now what happens in Myanmar also. Because now
Arakan.
what they will try to, the Arakan. What they will try to do is they will try to carve this area out between Arakan and Bangladesh where these terror organizations will run roost.
Chittagong and that.
The whole belt. And that is where you have to be extremely careful about. And that is the threat where I see a serious threat emerging from.
Hmm.
So
it's not
that
immediate,
ways you
it's
have.
going to take time.
It
but
is
we
not
need to-
immediate. Yeah,
Huh.
but this is what has been developing for a very, very long time. This front is developing from a very long time. So I think, apart from the Pakistan front, this is another front where we have to seriously and take care of these areas.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Guys, my request to everybody is please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you've not done that. Please also, share this with your families and friends. बहुत सारी चीजें इधर उधर भाग रही हैं, but the idea of doing this stuff is to ensure that the narrative is right, the situation is analyzed correctly, because अभी तक मैंने 3-4 चीजें देखी हैं which I'm like, क्या कर रहे हो भाई, क्या बात कर रहे हो? I mean, there's just whitewashing, complete whitewashing. One side is whitewashing of China, one side is whitewashing of America. Oh bhai, let's be realistic, it's not
In these circumstances, there is a lot of narratives which are thrown around for the common masses and the public, right? So this always happens when Taliban Afghan government fell. We saw a lot of narrative coming,
yeah.
which was, and a lot of people were blaming a lot of things. But at the end of the day, see, you cannot give a quick analysis based on 1 hour of things what is happening. You need to let the dust settle. But at the same time, blaming one party or only there is one evil, there is not one evil. There are multitudes of evil. So only one side is not responsible. There are other sides also which are responsible because everybody has their own geopolitical interests in the region. Bangladesh also. So, whitewashing is just because, and if somebody is whitewashing one side and trying to blame the blame on other side, then that is a clear indicator that that guy is playing a particular narrative with a particular thought behind it. And it's very easy to identify what the motive is.
That's true. It's a fluid situation.
Because geopolitics is never black and white. It's all shades of gray. If you're not able to read shades of gray, if you're going to deal with black and white, I'm sorry, you got it wrong.
That's why I'm, growing my beard a little longer, because geopolitics is this.
Exactly.
Gray.
It is gray. That is why I'm sitting in the gray area today.
It is always gray. It is never black. Oh, I don't have much black. It's not black or white. It is gray.
It's never
That's
black
the
and white.
problem. Yeah, it's never black and white because the game is never done till it's done, and here the game never gets done
Absolutely.
because till the time life is there, geopolitics will be there. ये चीज तो हमको याद करनी पड़ेगी बिकॉज हमारी हिस्ट्री में भी देखो कहाँ तक जाती है जियोपॉलिटिक्स एंड इफ यू रेफर टू मिस्टर जयशंकर's book, he says the biggest diplomat is हनुमान. अब हनुमान जी को बोल रहे हैं डिप्लोमेट तो आप भैया आप फिर मेजर करते रहो बैठ के यार कहाँ पर जा
Magic
रही है
dust.
हिस्ट्री कहाँ क्या हो रहा है वो तो अलग ही चीज है. सो गाइज प्लीज लाइक सब्सक्राइब एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली शेयर दिस विद योर फ्रेंड्स एंड फैमिलीज. आप लोग इस चैनल की तरफ कंट्रीब्यूट भी कर सकते हैं यूजिंग क्यूआर कोड या फिर पेपैल या फिर सुपर स्टिकर सुपर चैट्स के साथ आप कंट्रीब्यूट भी कर सकते हैं. बट वन थिंग आई लाइक टू से हियर, you know, you would lot of people would say that too many challenges all around the place. Well, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, sir, अगर आपको एक सुपर पावर एक बड़ा पावर बनना है, the pathway to that is full of thorns. And till the time you don't cross that pathway and clear up all those thorns, you can never grow up to be a big power.
Tell me one thing in the world which doesn't face a challenge. One thing.
I mean,
The
I'll just
challenge
give
is a part of
you
life.
yeah small
And
example.
every nation has their own channels.
If you see
हर एक का
Mexico,
challenge.
मेक्सिको के चक्कर में अमेरिका में 4 लाख लोग रोड हर साल मरते हैं. किससे? फेंटेनिल से. मेक्सिको के बॉर्डर्स के ऊपर चाइनीज बैठे हैं, फेंटेनिल बनाते हैं और अमेरिका में अंदर डालते हैं.
डालते हैं.
ठीक है.
Every
एंड
country
अमेरिका कांट
has
डू डैम शिट अबाउट इट.
anything about it. They can't do anything about it. See, challenges are there for every country, no? So it's, I mean, it's foolish to think that you will not have anything, any challenge anywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody has challenge. You are challenged every day. Every country is challenged every day on so many things. It's a very ruthless game. It's a very ruthless world. The world is very ruthless. It's not fair.
Absolutely. चलिए थोड़े सवाल जवाब लेते हैं, but let me just acknowledge loads of members that have joined in today, so just allow me a minute. पार्थ जी, जगदीश साहब, मिथुन जी, संजीव जी, AK जी, and Shankar ji and Dirty Dozens. All of you, thank you so very much for becoming members of the channel. Good to have a heavy member day. Okay, let's see. Next, Partha Saab, thank you. You say 2 infra projects came to India instead of China. Looking at the Chinese economy, they will remain with India. What is USA's need for a base in Bangladesh?
What is USA's need for in Balochistan? Why does US want a need? Why does US need a base in Africa? Why are they looking for a base in in the backyard of Russia? Any superpower will look to exert its own influence in the sphere everywhere, and China is a threat to US, and US would like to counter that. If you remember the string of pearls the Chinese had, or the game which is being played. See, the Americans are now thinking that the Chinese are going to come through the South China Sea, the North Korea area. Look at the way they've been trying to do it with Philippines. So for Americans, it is very, very important to have the bases closest, because if you look at all the war games, if you study, all the war games Americans have done vis-a-vis Chinese, and even Samuel Huntington in his book Clash of Civilizations में भी उसने यही चीज लिखी है, उसने भी war game किया है. The problem Americans had with the Chinese was they were losing to the Chinese because they were not in close proximity to the Chinese to launch that attack if they go to war with the Chinese. And the US Navy was getting decimated by the Chinese. So the Americans, it makes more sense for them to have bases everywhere across China to have a winning situation and have some kind of situation onto China and win with China. And Bangladesh makes perfect sense on that side, on the Indian Ocean side.
Actually, there's another thing which I will just show you as well. I'll show all the audience as well. If you kind of wait, yeah, this is better. So you guys just picture where Andaman and Nicobar Islands is, right? Right next to that is the Malacca Strait. Now Americans, Americans का क्या है? They want to have they don't have the capability of patrolling the oceans today, right? And you need to understand how the Americans work. They don't have the capability to patrol the entire oceans, क्योंकि जो world order था, uh, we would have been basically not, you know, changed from it if they still had that kind of a navy. Today, to patrol the oceans of the world, they need 800 destroyers, and they have about 75 or 80. They don't have. So now Americans क्या सोच रहे हैं कि जाके जितने choke points हैं, दुनिया के प्रीमियर मोस्ट choke points हैं, उसके अंदर आपके स्ट्रॉन्ग होल्ड्स होने चाहिए. So if you're sitting
Exactly.
in the most heaviest choke points everywhere around the world, you will have strong points and you should be able to control everything that is happening there. That's why the
Absolutely.
Persian Gulf they're sitting it, Djibouti they're sitting. Is taraf the Americans in this particular choke point they're not sitting.
They're not sitting anywhere. Nobody is giving them a base. India is
Yeah.
not going to
So
give them a base.
India is not giving them the base. They wanted
Pakistani
Andaman and
bases are useless
Mhm.
because they don't serve the purpose against the Chinese.
Yeah.
So the Americans are desperate for a base.
Yeah. So this
And
is
even their Japanese bases are not very good. The Japanese wanted them out.
yeah.
Right.
So this is one of the biggest reasons for actually Americans looking here, because in the long term they still want to kind of hold um the sea routes, ठीक है, which are
Yeah,
your
yeah. They want to take control of these sea routes because they know that
yeah
that is, and they are contemplating Taiwan being taken over by China anytime.
yeah.
They're thinking that
So
the Chinese might actually attempt that. So in that case, it's going to be very difficult for Americans. So Bangladesh is very, very important in that sense. It's a
yeah
major sea route,
yeah
major seaport, major sea point, I would say.
yeah. That's one of the reasons
Naval.
why you will find कि ये इस जगह पे आके इनका attention है.
That is why the
Geographically, it
Chinese
makes a
tried.
lot of sense.
That is why the Chinese tried their best to make a naval base there also, right?
Yeah
Selling the
yeah
junk to the Bangladeshi Navy, which they refused. And that junk was then taken over by the Pakistanis.
yeah. All right, Kalyani ji, thank you. Namaste. It is a big miss by our government. One more radical neighbor, US behind. Are they after China or India? I think India. They're not trustworthy. I agree with half of your comment and half I don't, Kalyani ji. But thank you so much for that comment. You would like to say anything?
They are after both of us. As much as they are after India, they are as much as after China as well.
Yeah.
So they are after both of us. They are not. It's not that they are after one or another. They are after everybody.
Next, Ustad Tuturuddin Khan Chanchad. Thank you, जी. वामपंथी इस्लामी सोशल मीडिया में काश मोदी में भी ऐसे हट जाएं जैसे नैरेटिव बना रहे हैं. आने वाले फर्जी किसान आंदोलन क्या 2021 से भी ज्यादा खतरनाक होंगे? मोदी सरकार को टिके रहने के लिए क्या करना होगा? जो फार्मर्स 3 में किया था, जिस तरह से ड्रोन से उनके ऊपर स्मोक ग्रेनेड गिराए थे और सब, ओए ओके ही विल जॉइन बैक, बट मैं ये बोलूंगा जो फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट 3 हुआ था ना, जहां पर आपने स्मोक ग्रेनेड गिराए थे इनके ऊपर अच्छे से प्यार से आपने खातिरदारी करी थी. उसके बाद याद है एक वीडियो भी आया था जहां पर वो बोल रहा था मैं तो सिर्फ वो क्या
I'm
ड्रोन
sorry,
को
my
गिरा
voice.
रहा. नो प्रॉब्लम. मैं तो ड्रोन को गिरा रहा था, मैं पत्थर ऊपर फेंका तो हमारे सिरों पे आके बज रहे थे, तो अभी हम टेनिस बॉल से गिरा रहे हैं. वो वाला वीडियो याद है ना सबको? सो देखिए ऐसा है, इन ऑल सीरियसनेस दुनिया में चारों तरफ जो प्रोटेस्ट हो रहे हैं, दे आर बीइंग डेल्ट विद अ हेवी हैंड,
There's too much
राइट?
chaos happening in the world everywhere.
So there is a precedence that you can kind of okay, Dipankar ji, namaskar both. Yeah, Mike is on the way, sir. Thank you so much.
Just bear with me for a couple of days. I'm really sorry for this.
No problem, sir. Partha ji, thank you for this comment. What if in reality US China don't actually have a plan, but they are jointly working in going bankrupt, as that is the only way to truly decouple? Well,
Yeah, look, that's not how things work, right? That's not how countries work as well. Nobody looks at works like that. Self-destruction doesn't work that way, except Pakistan. That's the only country which works on this principle. Nobody else works on this principle.
that's a good answer, I must say. Not three rider. Thank you so much. Can India take military action if violence continues by winters? Right now, heavy flooding causes bigger challenges, and maybe India is putting a pause.
I don't think it is that bad where a military action needs to be taken. As I said, there are a lot of other ways where you can effectively make sure that the violence is controlled in Bangladesh. Military action will be an extreme action when nothing will work. Then that can be taken. But I don't think the Bangladeshis are going to go that way. They understand what is happening, and they would not want to go to that road, down that road for now, at least.
Rutvij साहब, thank you so much for that contribution. Saravani ji, thank you. आप कहते why India couldn't take Saint Martin Islands from on for lease from Bangladesh even during Sheikh Hasina's times? Exactly. Good question.
See, that is a good question, but then if you want to take it on lease, you have to be prepared for a lot of things. It's easy to take. Now let's talk about Gwadar. The Chinese took it on lease, but what have Chinese achieved out of it, right? You have to take a lot of calculations, and you have to make sure that the area is 100% secure. You can have the Saint Martins, you could have taken it from them, but if the way Bangladeshis have gone, how secure or how good it would have been for the Indians, then it was doubling the headache. So then your resources are getting stretched, your men are getting stretched, and there are other costs which come with taking bases outside your own country as well. We do have bases in some countries, but I don't think we wanted to bet on the St. Martin's Island, because knowing that it's a point of trouble, you don't want to put your boots where the trouble is brewing.
Yeah,
That's
apart
that's
from
bad
that,
strategy.
we have a terrible history as well. Are we forgetting we gave up Coco Islands, which is right, thoda sa just down the road?
Ah,
We gave that up.
yeah, we gave that
ठीक
up.
है, सो हमने गिफ्ट किया था, लो ये लो जी, गिफ्ट गिफ्ट रैप पेपर के साथ एकदम चमकी वाला था.
You're holding on to a military base in a neighboring country is not that easy. Where
Yeah, but
and that is what I said. We have bases. We have bases up in Central Asia
we
somewhere.
didn't have to gift it and give it to
Those beds are safe. We that one we gifted out, but then what do? You gifted half the land to Chinese in Ladakh. I don't want to go down that road. Come on.
I know. Dirty Dozen ji, thank you so very much for that contribution. Thought Provocator Saab, thank you. Waiting for Baba a com to replace Mujib Saab.
Well, it doesn't matter who replaces whom. Mujib's statue. It's sad that Bangladeshis, a nation which doesn't value its history, is doomed. So what we are seeing in Bangladesh is not very, very good. And if that's what the Bangladeshis think it is, then good luck to them, yaar. I mean, at the end of 3-4 years, let's see where you are and how far
Yep,
you have gone.
absolutely. Anuish ji, thank you. You say Taliban model on repeat in Bangladesh. Youth is under the influence with super dictator narrative. Why can't Hindus have global resistance equal to UN peacekeeping for Hindus? Yeah, who will agree to it, sir?
Yeah, but
वहां पर
you don't.
यूएन में डिसमेंटलिंग हिंदुत्व की कॉन्फ्रेंसेस चल रही हैं. They would want to do this to us.
Absolutely. And this global resistance is built on many fronts. There are many ways to build it. Since 2014, India has been building its own resistance, but in a very different manner. But don't expect UN to do anything about it. It's a sham agency. They will
Absolutely.
only go where the dollars are, the petrodollars are.
Rohit ji, thank you for that. I will be sure to check Cleo Pascal out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write her a mail and get her on the podcast very soon. She gave me a shout out. Okay, cool.
That's nice.
Uh, Primitive, do you think China with our neighboring countries will attract collaboration against Bharat? Your views?
See, everybody is going to play against everybody. We and China are going to play against the Americans, right? Then the Chinese are going to play against us, and we are going to play against the Chinese. So it's a triangular game which is going to happen. So yes, they will try to collaborate against us. We will try to make sure that their collaborations don't work. That is how geopolitics work. That is how these games are played, and it's been happening.
True. Saravni ji, once again, thank you. Indian government should make sure Hindus in Bangladesh are safe. Taking them in India is like surrendering a country to radical Islamists. We should not wipe out the traces of our civilization in the region. One way of
See,
looking
I
at it.
agree to that, but then yeah, but then how do you ensure that their long-term safety is taken care of? Look at the population of minorities. No, from 20 odd
Yeah,
percent, it has fallen down to less than 10%. So that tells you that the nation itself is not a very tolerant nation of having different ethnic, not ethnic, religious entities within its own country. It wants to be a majoritarian nation. So you have to do what is to be done in the best of the interests. Unfortunately, that is the cost you have to pay. So let's see what happens.
Gitanjali ji, thank you. Very interesting comment, I must say. In the aftermath of Hasina ji's coup, what do you have to say about the truckload of mangoes that she had sent to CM Tripura after she had returned from India? You're obviously
See,
hinting at something, but
yeah. So the
uh,
truckload of mangoes that she had sent to CM of Tripura just after she returned from India. Oh, you mean last time when she returned from India? See, Sheikh Hasina had good relations not only with CM of Tripura but also with the CM of Bangladesh also. She was in very good terms with Mamta Banerjee also. And on the local levels, these are the bordering states of India which somewhere are involved with Bangladesh. And you want to maintain your own diplomacy and your own network. So I would not read much into it. It's a good
hmm.
gesture. She sent a truckload of mangoes. Maybe
Unless
it's
you
dipping
mean
into the
mangoes is something else, then the analysis will be completely different.
unless yeah, but the only
Be-
mangoes
because
mean
she's
something else
quoted
in
it.
Pak. Yeah, because the only mangoes I know which means something else is in Pakistan where they explode. So you know, so
Chinese
then it will be
mangoes.
different. I'm just reading the
They
statement
nahi.
as it is, not within the statement. No, I'm answering
Chinese
it based on very simply thing. No, Chinese mangoes
Chinese
are all.
grenades. The Chinese grenades are not known as mango. They're known as pineapples, right?
Yeah, they're known as pineapple. They're not mangoes. No,
Whoa, what the hell
they're
is
pineapple.
this? Sorry.
Somebody blew up
ये
balloons.
नहीं यार, ये इसके अंदर फीचर है, ये देखो, सी व्हेन आई डू दिस, क्या होगा अभी?
Oh, you got that filter and all that into this.
हाँ,
हाँ
नहीं
ठीक
नहीं,
है,
वो
हाँ, वो स्मार्ट
अपने
फिल्टर
आप
लगा।
ऐसे करो तो वो थम्स अप दिखाता है, ये देखो।
हाँ ये दिखा रहा है। Yes. Okay.
It's just
Oh,
stupid.
nice.
Uh, what's this? It's not in the feature. This is the feature of a updated StreamYard, by the way. What's this
हाँ
video?
वही मैं कह रहा हूँ।
WTV. थैंक यू। एक तरफ से कहा जाता है कि वी हैव टू बाई टाइम वर्क ऑन इकोनॉमी, बट ऐसी इंटरफेरेंस होती है तो कहाँ से इकोनॉमिक प्रोग्रेस होगी? एब्सोल्युटली।
We have to buy time, and we are buying. We have to buy our time. We are buying our time. We are working on an economy. It's a slow game. It's a slow process. So, and the developments will keep on happening. You have to be always ready for the developments to happen, but not lose the focus. ऐसे तो नहीं कि डेवलपमेंट होगी, डेवलपमेंट नहीं होगी तभी आप ग्रो करोगे। डेवलपमेंट्स तो हमेशा होंगी, challenges are going to be there. How well you navigate those challenges is how able you are.
True, absolutely. Sominil ji, thank you. You say, is it time to broaden the chicken neck and have a sea connectivity to Tripura? Anyways, Bangladesh Samaj hates us. जगह दिखाते हैं उनकी sea connection to Tripura is already there, sir.
It is already there. And
Yeah.
look, they might hate us or whatever, but then it doesn't matter. It's not what people think matters.
Yeah.
What powers think matters. Powers decide matters. People don't matter in this game.
Manov San, thank you. Did US do regime change to put India in its place after Modi's trip to Russia? If US reviving Cold War programs against us, then is this sustainable? How do we respond? Do we stay defensive? Coups don't happen
No, the
overnight,
Russia
huh?
trip has
So
recent.
yeah,
This is the. It's not that you went to Russia and they pressed a button saying that okay, let the hell break loose. The Americans have been trying it for a very very long time, for last 3 to 3.5 years, if I'm correct.
yeah.
Overtly, they're trying it. Since last year, they have been very very pushy about this thing. We have seen it. The last Bangladesh elections, it was all in the open. The fight was in the open. So it's happening much before than that. It's got nothing to do with Modi's Russia trip. Modi is also visiting Ukraine. So then, should Americans do a good gesture? I don't think so.
Ustad Twitteruddin Khan, thank you. You say what a dilemma to support Vinesh Pogart for Olympic gold, already assured of silver. What if she flaunts the medal and rejuvenates the wrestlers' protest before the Haryana elections? May I just say this? 90% of these protests are politically motivated. They don't feel that much sentiment and all that stuff. Let me assure you that. ये जो आगे की आवाजें
No,
होती हैं,
even if
बाकी सब तो
see you are supporting Vinesh Pogart not for the Olympic gold, not as an individual, but as a country. Because at the end of the day, it's the country which gets the pride. what somebody's internal politics or their own political thought is not does not matter. It's not that they might not align with your political ideology. You will not support them. If it is good for the nation, if it is bringing something which is credible and loyal to the nation, I think in that sense we should always support that. Right? We can have our
Yep.
differences, but when it comes to the country, there should be no division on that sense. Personal disliking can always be there.
अनन्या ने बड़ा अच्छा सवाल पूछा है. CIA wants Hasina to stay in India to portray India as someone who hosts dictators and sanction India. That's what Chawda ji said. I actually, I don't think that's my opinion, but
I
with
don't
all
think so.
respect to Abhijit, but I think I'd like to add in this that they might just like to keep her in India to kind of keep that fire stoked up in Bangladesh for as long as possible.
Absolutely. They will keep her in India just for the anti India rhetoric they can then carry out and then point the finger saying that she's an Indian stooge. I don't think the Americans are going to sanction India. I don't think it is that extreme. The Americans are not that stupid that on Sheikh Hasina, they're going to say that, okay, we need to sanction India, right? The
Sanction करें
Americans
तो
have to
खत्म
play
होगी
that
कहानी.
game. It's not Saddam Hussein who was sitting in Bangladesh, right? That was a different game. So
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it is more to keep that anti-India rhetoric on the boil. And
जी.
she's also looking at some other countries. She's looking at Finland also. So
Absolutely. Bharat ji, what is the future of textile industry in Bangladesh? Well, the only one thing, raw material goes from us. So, guess.
good luck to them.
Okay, Madhumita ji says Jamaat people are asking the business houses to shell out huge amounts of cash or they will burn their properties.
Well,
Ta-da!
that's a typical way. So that's how they burn their own country down.
Stupid.
That's what will happen. So if they're doing that, well, good for them. They're burning their own house down. Let them burn it.
Ravi,
What should we be worried about?
Ravi Saab says, what is the significance of this flying drone? Well, sir, it can fly uh, it can fly very, very high. These are stratospheric aircraft. They fly in the jet stream. They can switch off their motors and fly with the wind only. They're like large gliders. They can fly up to 80, 90, sometimes 100 hours without refueling. And if his engine is off and he gets good winds, he can fly really, really long. These things are basically used to carry encrypted communication, right? So satellites के अंदर होता है, but if you have complete encryption, which is your secret codes and all that, then you need a interim sort of a thing to kind of do photography plus get the communication going plus all that stuff. So that is what this drone was designed for. Yeah, actually this stuff is there on the internet, but the problem is this was leaked up by a airman who got overzealous and clicked a photograph somewhere. It was not supposed to be
Hmm.
out. So there are few photographs of it which are heavily copywritten. Heavily copywritten. वहां पर नीचे बड़ा बड़ा लिखा है, do not show this anywhere. All right. Vivek Singh Saab says, Jai Bharat to both of you. Sheikh Hasina's trip to China was termed as a failure since they didn't have the promised money. Maybe they already knew that regime change is coming. Thoughts?
See, the Chinese were trying to sell a lot of equipment to the Bangladeshis. The Bangladeshis were not very happy and they were kept on rejecting it. They wanted better quality out of it. So Chinese were not happy because their armament sale was not happening as expected from the Bangladeshis. That is why they refused the money, right? And she had asked for a loan. They said no, we will not give you loan. The other reason behind that is also that the Chinese are very very wary of making any future investments because wherever they have made investments gone bad, whether it is Sri Lanka, it is Pakistan, it's just blowing up for them. So the Chinese really don't have the money to put it in there. And then the way the Chinese wanted, their own, what do I say? How do I say this? The Chinese wanted the sphere of influence to be increased. She was not ready to bargain on that. They wanted a substantial deal out of it. That is why she
True.
rejected it. So that is why this happened.
Subbu Mahantaji, thank you. Kudos to you and your team, Adi bhai. There's no team, sir. There's only one. Rest, these guys are part of my team, जो मेरे speakers हैं. If they agree to be, but otherwise it's kalla banda. ठीक है. Thank you so much. There is no one else.
Thank you, sir.
Lajwanti ji, American footprint is very clear considering the Nobel Prize winner is invited to lead the interim government.
Yes.
Sanji
I said
asked
that from
Adi,
in the start.
Yeah, should India pour more and more fuel into this fire and get the narrative to go against America? America, use the
You
chaos
don't
to our
need to.
advantage.
You would not need any fuel to put the fire. The fire is lit. The Americans are not going to be able to do what they want to do in this area, right? Because there are multitude of factors, and they will unfold in coming time. You will see how things will go wrong for them. They might get the first foot inside, but then the door will slam on their foot, breaking their toe. That is what is expected out of it. So just wait. It's just the beginning. So wherever
Dirty
when we have to
Dozens,
put fuel, we'll put.
Dirty Dozen says last four questions. What could be the NSA's Ajit Doval's reason for meeting Hasina, and why did
There
they
could be
announce it? He
multitude
could
of
have he could
reasons.
have just he could have just gone without announcing. Why did they announce it?
You could have gone without announcing, but I think they announced it because they wanted the world to know that they are in control of what is happening in Bangladesh. That is a messaging going that we are very much active and in control of what is happening, and there could be a lot of to and fro messages still happening from Bangladesh, no, where India could be a part.
Yeah. Gatsya ji, bhaiya, if we didn't know this was going to happen, then there was no way Bangladeshi PM would have survived this coup. What not? It uh, was us who knew it, and we are preparing. Yes, we are not going to say. True.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
not going
saying
to.
that the signs were there that this was gonna go. It's not that we didn't knew. We knew what is happening in Bangladesh. We have been knowing that Bangladesh, the way Bangladesh is going, she might not be able to hold for a very very long time. Uh, we had our exit plans in game. We had already war game this, but then these things don't come in public domain. Nobody's going to come and tell you that, falane date ko ji Sheikh Hasina ki government gir jayegi. The government doesn't operate that way. So what the government knows, many people don't know. For us, what is sudden, for them it is not sudden. They are not taken aback.
Yep. And Suma Pillaji says, "What does our Queen Bee in West Bengal have to say?" Motherhood Banerjee's, is she going to open her doors to infiltrators? One needs to keep an eye.
Yeah, that is where I said the challenges. But now she also knows that she must be shaken to the core of what has happened there. She knows that one thing goes wrong, and if something goes wrong in Bengal, she's had it. She's over history. So she'll be very very careful about it, and we have to be
I don't
careful.
think.
They have been
I
coming in
don't
from
think
that
she's
side.
going to take any pangas. Hmm.
No, no, I don't think she will take Panga. She take Panga, she's gone.
She's gone.
Because when it
Batraji,
comes to
correct.
national security, nobody's gonna play politics.
Yeah. Batraji says, correct. Adiji, name a nation that is at peace or stable. We say, जिद्दे देखो उदे उसदे मंजी थले अग लाई है ये मंजी थले अग लाई हुई है. Whole world is simmering for a reason. Yesterday Japan's market crashed. Absolutely, sir. Sominil Saab, thank you. You say, do you think if Jamaat turns against the US will rush to give democracy to Bangladesh and occupy a piece of land?
Jamaat is not going to turn against the US. See, that is not going to happen. But then Jamaat is not going to blindly listen to US as well. Look at the way Taliban deals with America, no? That should give you a good indicator of how they operate.
Karthik Gadam Saab says, thank you. Firstly, killing 300 students and expecting revolt won't happen. Not acceptable. Fair enough.
True, the violence went out of hand. Agreed that it was too violent, and she didn't curb on the violence. I agree on to that. You know.
Yeah.
But that is what I'm saying. There, when you don't have any other mechanism of letting the pressure go, this is the only thing you meet violence with violence, and then obviously casualties are there. So I agree.
True. And Kalyan Saab says, why did Peter Haas disappear just a day forward to save his backside? Nothing else.
Peter Haas did his. He knew what happened. He knew what was going to happen. He just left a day
तो
before his
यार
job was over.
साला मैंने तो पूरा सेटिंग करके रखा हुआ है कहीं कहीं ना मेरे पे नैरेटिव चढ़ गया they'll bloody lynch me and hang me somewhere मैं जा रहा हूँ यहाँ से I'm bloody going
No, no, they won't. They won't lynch you. But Peter
so
Haas का
you
तो
don't
पता
know
ही है.
about it. Yeah. Sarji, thank you so much. Fantastic session. I think very logical. मेरे को यही and I'm appreciating my own sessions. मजा आता है because we speak on facts, we speak on realities. जहाँ पर issue है, we call it out कि this is a big challenge. This has been a disaster, but every disaster has an opportunity. Catch that opportunity, figure out what we need to do, and then move forward. So that's the keynote of this, I think, session. Thank you so much for a wonderful explanation. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind, sir. Good night.
Good night, sir.